Welcome to the Ask Coach Mac podcast, where coaches from around the world get their strength and conditioning questions answered.
What's up, guys? Rob McKeefery here, and welcome to episode number 32 of Ask Coach Mac. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a great question from Jeff. Before we get to that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Iron Grip. If you're in the market for plates or dumbbells, these are my go-to guys. I've put Iron Grip plates and dumbbells in 3 facilities, including my own garage, where my family and I work out. I've had nothing but positive experience with them and love the fact that they're manufactured in the U.S. For more information, go to irongrip.com, follow them on Twitter, or call Chris DeSanto at 509-230-3124. All right, here's today's question from Jeff.
Hey, Coach McKeefery. My name is Jeff Thompson. I'm currently an intern at the University of Louisiana Lafayette with Louis Caralla. And my question is, do we really spend enough time on mobility, or is it too much to ask for more time for mobility? Because it seems in many cases that those who have poor hip, ankle, shoulder mobility, whatever it is, either truly never gain it, or in the end it comes back and causes an injury. And so my question, I guess, is could you spend more time on mobility and sacrifice maybe time in the gym training, maybe time on the field conditioning?
Jeff, appreciate your question. And this is obviously one of those things that is always kind of an antagonistic type of relationship with coaching staffs on time on mobility. And the first thing I would suggest is first try to refrain from taking that antagonistic type of approach to things. You know, it's not an us versus them thing. It's simply a thing where you have to figure out a way to work within the system. And so with mobility, you know, sitting around, you just got to put yourself in a football coach's shoes or a sport coach's shoes, and just realize that there's so much that has to go into those practices, and the time restrictions and the time limits end up making it so that every single minute counts. And so giving up 10 minutes for mobility is tough, you know. And the reality is that you know, at what point does the mobility simply become just something that you're doing versus something that is effective? And so with me, I always want to make sure that I work within the system to find ways of putting mobility exercises within. And so what we do is we'll insert mobility exercises during rest periods for our our core lifts or in between our movements. You know, what football coaches or sport coaches don't like is seeing athletes sit around. I don't like seeing athletes sit around. And so I want to make sure that in the weight room, that when I look across the room, I see constant movement. People not just, you know, not congregating at a water cooler or around the radio or talking or not focused on what they're doing. And so what I'll do is I'll build in mobility exercises in between exercises or exercises within the workout. And so, for example, if we're doing a bench press, first I'll trick them into doing their warm-up sets. And so our first 3 warm-up sets will be in conjunction with a mobility exercise and then something to elevate core temperature. We call it a metabolic, something just to simply get them going. And so, for example, if we're doing bench press, we'll do a first warm-up set. There'll be a spotter. There'll be somebody doing maybe T-spine push-ups or a push-up centerfold. And then we'll have some sort of maybe upper body dot drill pattern for the metabolic. And so they'll go from lifter, from spotter to lifter to the push-up centerfolds to the dot drill pattern, and then back through it. And we'll do 3 different exercises that way while we're doing our warm-up sets for bench. And then when we're doing our bench, we might work in some mobility or some some counter movements, such as maybe some band pull to faces or something for the rear delt while we're doing the anterior pushing of the bench press. And so I think that's the first way you want to go about things, is try to find ways to work it in within your training in the weight room. We do it again. We'll do lots of drills before practice. You know, we'll have hurdles set up. We have a foam roll set up. We have partner stretching, and we do some massage with the buffer, similar to like a DMS, and we'll have that set up as they're going out to practice, and then obviously going through pre-practice and special teams and things like that. There's obviously going to be some mobility with that at a better pace than if they were go out and go right into some type of team situation. The second thing you can do is McKeefery up at Ohio State does this. I think it's fantastic. It's a genius. But he would put mobility type stations while the athletes are walking into meeting room space or locker rooms or things like that. And so putting a set of hurdles in front of the locker room door so that you have to go over under the hurdles to get into the locker room, or doing some sort of bob and weave as you're going into your individual position drills or something along those lines, some wall swings, leg swings, things like that. Just to something that is just reinforcing the fact that they need to be moving. They got it. They have to recognize that it's an important part of their daily process, and just continuing to place an importance on it, I think is a great way to also find some ways. Last thing I'd suggest is that you have to encourage the athletes to do it on their own. Whenever I see or identify opportunities where mobility is an issue, that's your opportunity while you're sitting at practice or throughout the day to educate them on that process and the importance of it, and to get them to come back into the weight room, spend a little extra time with them, going through some mobility drills and showing them some things that might work specifically for them. So many times I think what we do is we find things that we think work for athletes, but everybody's body is a little bit different. So getting in those one-on-one type situations, finding out what they like to do, what makes them feel better, what improves their mobility, is also something that will encourage compliance as you go about. So again, find ways to work it into your exercises. Find ways to incorporate it throughout the daily process, and then encourage your athletes to do it on their own are really the important steps in that deal. So Jeff, I hope that answers your question. We'd love to hear what everyone else thinks. Use the hashtag AskCoachMac32 to continue the discussion over on Twitter. Thanks for your question. I want to encourage everyone else that if you have a question that you would like to potentially be featured on the show, head over to AskCoachMac.com. There you can ask your question by hitting the record button at the bottom of the page. Thanks so much. I appreciate you guys for listening. And here's a quote to finish off the day by Bruce Lee. Notice that the stiffest tree is most easily cracked, while the bamboo or willow survives by bending with the wind. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode of Ask Coach Mac. Bye for now.